Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and Master Certified Life Coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today's episode is all about how to balance your hormones in menopause and beyond. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle with over 2 million downloads and counting. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your Master Certified Coach, Life Leadership Mentor, and Certified Zentangle Teacher, and I'm just so happy to be here with you again. Now, this show is for women over 50 who are starting to feel time differently and want to stop coasting through life. Each episode helps you notice what's really going on in your life, recognize the moments that matter, and begin choosing your next chapter more intentionally. Today's topic is so good because who isn't talking about menopause and all the ups and downs related to it? I mean, I have it from the highest authority that all the cool kids are doing it. So we're going to go there and it's going to be great. But before we dive in, just quick, I have an invitation for you. If you've been thinking, why do I feel a bit off when everything in my life looks fine? Then this will help. You're invited to take my free Next Chapter Midlife quiz to discover if your next chapter is trying to get your attention. You'll understand what may be quietly holding you back. You'll see what your next chapter is asking for, and you're going to get personalized insight in just about 90 seconds. It's fast and it's fascinating. You can start the quiz here at www.midlifequiz.com. Okay, now let's dive in. As I mentioned, today the focus of the show is on how to balance hormones in menopause and beyond with my special guest, Sarah Haas. It's probably no surprise that we're also going to shed some light on weight loss, sleep, balance, stress, and more. Menopause can be a confusing time, I'm sure you'll agree. Sarah is a women's weight release and body love coach, integrative nutrition health coach, certified personal trainer, yoga instructor, host of the Boss Body podcast, and expert columnist for Aspire magazine. She empowers women in midlife, menopause, and beyond to create vibrant health, feel good in their bodies, and live a simple, sustainable, healthy lifestyle. Sarah also shares her personal story of discovering her second chapter career and how she became so passionate about it. Now, her holistic approach includes a mix of nutrition, hormone balancing, body movement, mindset elevation, self-compassion, and radical self-love. What episode wouldn't be complete without some concrete suggestions? Sarah has those for you too, including information about the importance of taking small steps to get you started in this new direction. Specifically, she talks about 3 that are relatively straightforward and easy to implement. So stay tuned. You're going to hear way more about all of this amazing information. Please enjoy this informative and practical episode. And please remember, the information shared in this podcast is intended for your convenience, entertainment, and education, and isn't geared to your personal situation. It's not a replacement for care or advice from your own medical professional. So as always, you may have some things you want to follow up on, so please seek a suitable professional to advise you on your personal situation. Hi, Sarah. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Women in the Middle podcast.
Hello, it's such a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's so nice that you're here because we have some important work to do today. We must take a deep dive into overall health through midlife and menopause and really get at some of the things that are going on because it is so confusing out there. So I'm delighted to have you here.
Yeah, it's an important subject and it's not talked about enough, but thankfully it is starting to get out there because we need the info and half of the world's population is going to go through this. So it's really important and long overdue.
Yes, it is. And I have some questions too. So I'm really glad you're here. So let's get started. If you could tell us a little bit about your personal journey to doing this important work, what was going on for you in your 40s?
Sure. In my 40s, I was in a completely different career. I was actually in graphic design. I'm an artistic creative, so I loved doing that. And I did it for about 20 years. And I have 2 kids. And at the time, my son was 6. And my daughter was 8. And my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which just came out of nowhere. I had no idea, knew nothing about it. It didn't run in our family. There was no warning. And so I was sort of thrown into this mama bear. I've got to do everything I can. Luckily, type 1 and type 2 are a little different, but type 1, they don't know what causes it, and there's no cure. It's a lifetime diagnosis.
So you were just like humming along, minding your business, and you go for a regular appointment with your kid, and this is what happened? Or was something going on that had you a little concerned?
Yes, something was going on. He was 6, and he started being so thirsty all the time, just begging for orange juice, chugging water, and also going to the bathroom constantly. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I looked it up, and it said it could be a number of things. It could be a bladder infection. It could be just a phase where he's growing. And so I kept an eye on it. And he also started wetting the bed again and wetting his pants, which was so bizarre because that was not like him at all.
And he was past
it. Well past it. And I had this intuition, just this mother's intuition. Something is not right. This is not just a bladder infection. We had done all the things. And it was a Friday, and he was at school. He was in kindergarten. And it just struck me, I can't wait any longer. I need to get him seen. So I took him to the after-hours pediatric urgent care. And within minutes, they basically checked his urine, found a ton of sugar, which is what your body does when you don't produce insulin. It has to get rid of all that sugar. So that's why there's sugar in your urine. And within minutes, the doctor came out and he said, your son's blood sugar is up over 500. Normal is 80 to 120. He said, so we are looking at a case of juvenile diabetes. We need you to take him immediately to the hospital. So that started the whirlwind.
Oh my gosh.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. The good thing is, it is a very manageable disease, but you have to do what's right for your body in order to keep your blood sugars level. So it's this constant balancing act all day long. Eat, give insulin, check, make sure you're in range, day and night. So it's like a 24-hour job when your child is young. He's in college now, so he handles it mostly by himself, which is amazing. But the good thing is there's a lot of education out there. And I am one that if something's going on, I will do the research. I will throw myself into it. And this is my kid. This is a life-threatening disease because it can have immediate life-threatening issues if you're not taking care of it, and also long-term if you don't take care of it in the long term. So I threw myself in. I went to every symposium, conference, read every book, joined all kinds of women, moms groups, whatever.
Mama Bear's on fire.
Mama Bear is on. I was like, well, this is my job now. This is my full-time job. I will do what's best for him. And the doctor said, if you take care of it, he will live a long, normal life. Life expectancy is pretty much exactly the same as a non-diabetic. So I started implementing at home. It wasn't like, oh, you can never have, people think if you're diabetic, you can never eat sugar. But he's 6. He's going to have birthday parties. There's going to be Halloween. And so navigating that and figuring out how to make that work was a real challenge. I had 2 young kids, family, but we started implementing little things at a time. And I started educating them and saying, here's why we're doing this. And it wasn't about deprivation. It wasn't, you can never have this. It was just more about balance and moderation. And we all started doing it, and it wasn't hard. And I remember the nurse educator saying to me, the diet and lifestyle that he needs to follow is really just no nonsense common sense, and it's what everybody should be doing. So I realized, well, this is not really that big of a deal. Get out and move more. Eat more fruits and vegetables. Eat more, all the things. Make sure you drink plenty of water. And we all started doing it. I lost a few pounds. I started having more energy, sleeping better. The whole family was thriving, and people were asking me, what are you doing? What do you feed your kids? What do you cook? What do you guys drink if it's not Kool-Aid or, lemonade or juice box, whatever, high C boxes? And I realized that women are hungry for this information. And I live in an area in East Tennessee in the Appalachian Mountains where it is a very, very high rate of obesity, type 2 diabetes. And I realized we need to get this information out. And that's when I decided to go back to school. I was like, this is my calling. I was already into fitness. I was already teaching classes and personal training as a side hustle. But I just decided this is what I'm meant to do. And so I threw myself in, and that's why I am where I am today. And I could not be happier about that change. I love it.
Wow, Sarah. So first of all, I want to thank you for just not interrupting yourself as I was dealing with a few weird things at my end. First, I spilled water all over myself, and then somehow my phone and my iPad were making noises, so I wanted to move them away. So thank you for being so professional and just keep on rolling there. Now, I want to get into a little bit about that decision. So you've been in graphic design, you said, for like 20 years, and you made a pivot. So were you struggling with the decision for a while, or was it just so obvious to you?
It was just obvious. I had already been cutting back somewhat. With the first kid, I cut back a little bit because I was an entrepreneur. I was doing this on my own. So I started seeing a few less clients because I had young kids at home, and then the second one came and I cut back a little bit more. And also, this was early 2000s, right? And that's when the internet started becoming big, and that's when print was going out and digital was coming in. And that wasn't really the training that I had in school. So I was having to constantly learn new programs, and it was all coming at me. And I was finding I wasn't quite as qualified anymore, and that I was going to have to go back and get more education anyway. So I didn't really struggle with it because I knew that this was what I was meant to do. And the good thing is I'm an entrepreneur now, and I can design all my own website and graphics and all those good things. So I still get to tap into that creative side as well.
Oh, yeah. I was in a health publishing department in those years, and it was scary to watch how things were changing. I was in a book publishing department, and it was like, wow, we have to think about content in a completely different way. But okay, so now you had this situation with your kid. You started adopting all of these things with your family. I love that nurse educator shared that with you, that, you know what, you don't need to think about it like some crazy hard diet loaded with deprivation. Really just think about it this way. When did you make the leap to specifically work with women?
Well, right off the bat, I was mostly working with women. A few men, yes, but I'm surrounded by women. I'm surrounded by other moms. And traditionally, they're the ones feeding their family, buying the groceries, cooking the food. A lot more men are doing that now, but it's still the bulk of it lands on the mom. And it just came naturally because they could identify with where I was. And really, they just wanted to learn, well, what did you do? Because I just want to copy what you've done. So it just became kind of seamless. And I think you draw to you who you're meant to serve.
Well, plus you're talking about, like, your stories are reflecting who it is that you are and who you love to work with, because you're starting to have that experience. So it really can come kind of naturally once you're at that point. And what about your focus in menopause? Because I'm just thinking, thank goodness you're here, because there is so much, confusion let's just leave it at confusion around what the heck is going on with weight gain, weight loss, all kinds of things. Because it just seems like every single time you go to the doctor in your 50s and 60s, you come out with a new scary diagnosis like osteoporosis or diabetes or who knows what. So tell us a little bit about how you started to become attracted to working with women, older women, menopause, perimenopause, postmenopausal, and why you love it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't like to say older women. I like to say wiser women.
Oh, I like to say older and wiser, actually. But so it's a good point. But I'm trying to embrace aging as there's nothing wrong with being older because comes the wisdom, and we are older. Like, where else were we going to get 30, 40, 50 years of experience if we weren't older?
Yeah, absolutely.
We are wiser. If only the information was out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So in my mid 40s, I ended up getting divorced. That was a very hard decision because I'd been married for 17 years. I had 2 kids, elementary and middle school aged. Pretty scary. I was the primary caregiver. Also, my son had these medical issues, and my ex-husband was the primary breadwinner at this. I was still building my business, and I realized it was toxic. It was a real kind of a midlife light bulb went off that, all right, I'm middle-aged, I'm in midlife. This is not how I want to live the rest of my life. And this is not the example that I want my kids to see of what a relationship should look like. And it took me a couple of years, a lot of coaching, therapy, those kind of things to get clear on the path and have the courage to do it. And I had to walk through the fire, and I've never regretted it for 1 second. I'm a completely different person on the other side. And that's one of the things that drew me toward midlife women is that a lot of us are in some kind of, it's a time of transition, leaving relationships, starting new relationships, empty nest. They call us the sandwich generation because we're still taking care of kids and aging parents. So we're caretaking a lot. And then the next curveball in my late 40s, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. I was not in menopause at the time. I was having a few little hot flash type symptoms, and that was it, regular periods, all that. And suddenly I'm looking at 20 rounds of chemotherapy, 25 rounds of radiation, a double mastectomy with follow-up surgeries. So this was a good 2-year hell. I was in hell for 2 years. I lost everything. I lost my fitness. I lost my hair. I had no energy. I couldn't work very much. It was just, if you know anyone who's going through cancer, they are in a really tough time. I remember thinking that. And immediately when I started chemotherapy, I was thrown into menopause. I was having regular periods. I had 1 treatment and I never had another period again. So I didn't get any kind of smooth transition. I didn't have time to adapt, and I couldn't really do anything fitness-wise or even food-wise that much because I just only could eat certain things. I was nauseous all the time and certain things tasted bad. So for a couple years, I was just in survival mode.
Wow.
And then, thankfully, I am 5.5 years cancer-free now, which
fantastic.
Yeah, I know. I'm so lucky. I'm so grateful. I'm so fortunate. And I had to begin the process of rebuilding. I had gained about 15 pounds. I'd lost all my muscle mass. And I had to really walk my talk and really infuse my body with nutrition and nourishment and make time for all of that. And here I am rebuilding my business because I'd been going for a couple of years, and then suddenly it's really dropped off because I haven't been able to give it much attention. So I had a lot going on at that point. I had one in middle school and one in high school. So there's still, everything keeps going: soccer practice, band practice, theater, all those great things. And I know that so many women out there in this stage of life can relate. So navigating menopause is a tough, tough time. And immediately I was like, well, as I go through this phase, this is my new, first it was moms because I had young kids, and now it is middle-aged menopausal moms with older kids, and maybe looking at retirement or maybe empty nest, whatever, all those things, because I am in that phase and I'm dealing with it and I've figured it out. And those are the women who need my help now. And that's the women that I serve.
Not easy to figure it out. That's for sure. That's for sure. So where did you start?
I had to start small, just like anybody. Just like anybody. It really gave me a hard dose of reality of how hard it is to start, either start again or just start, period. So I had a lot of sympathy.
Are you thinking about your own behavior change, or are you talking right now about your business?
About the women that I serve. It gave me a lot of compassion and empathy and understanding, because up until then, I was an athlete. I was a distance runner. I taught fitness classes, and I was in the nutrition business. So I'd been doing it for a long time. And then it was very humbling to start again from the ground up. And
Sarah,
I know
your experience here is so powerful. One thing I was thinking about when you said I had to start again, I'm wondering, with all of your experience and knowledge, did you sense your own resistance to making some of the changes that you knew you had to make?
I'll say it was much harder. Once you get going and you're just in a healthy lifestyle, it's easy to just keep going. But when you're starting from scratch and you're not used to eating the things, and especially with exercise, when it's hard, it's really hard. Your muscles are not strong. And yes, there was definitely some resistance, but I have also always had the mindset of you can do anything you put your mind to, and you need to look toward the future, and it's one step at a time. So many women want to find this quick fix, want to do this quick boot camp or diet or, 1 week, 30 days, whatever it is. Yeah, and that can be good as a jumping off point, but that's not the answer. There's no quick fix. It literally is baby steps, one thing at a time. I had a double mastectomy and 3 follow-up surgeries. So for me, it started with learning how to do tiny stretches every day and be able to lift my arms up over my head. That was how beginner I was. Oh, forget working out.
Thanks for sharing that, but sometimes that is what it is. And what about with food? What was one of the habits that you wanted to establish early on or reestablish?
Well, a couple of things. One is getting enough protein. That is one of the biggest issues I see in women today, and especially around menopause. We're losing muscle mass. We peak at age 30, and from then on, we lose 3 to 5% every decade. So that really adds up once you're in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s. And muscles are the primary driver of metabolism. That's why men can lose weight so much more quickly. They have more muscle mass, and muscles require calories. So when you have more muscle mass, you are burning calories at a faster rate all day long. And if you don't use them, you lose them. And if you do, if you eat enough protein to build the muscle and you do some strength training, you're going to age better because you're not going to fall and all those things. And also, you're going to speed up your metabolism. So protein is key. And that's what I teach all the women I work with. That's kind of the first place we go is, are you eating protein with every meal? And then the other thing is the fiber and in fruits and vegetables. You have to have it. You have to have it to keep your system clean, to keep yourself regular. And also that's what infuses you with nutrients, with vitamins and minerals, which balance your gut. All this helps balance your hormones, gives you energy, keeps you healthy and vibrant, keeps your skin healthy, keeps your muscles healthy, keeps your bones strong. All these things.
What's one of your favorite ways to get more protein?
There's a lot of ways. You know, I eat a lot of chicken and fish. I eat a lot of eggs. And my secret weapon is yogurt and cottage cheese, because those are super high protein without being super high calorie. And they're easy to eat. It's easy to keep around. It's easy to just add a little cottage cheese on the side of your plate at dinner. It's easy to have some yogurt for a snack. So those are eggs, yogurt, and cottage cheese are staples that I will always have in my refrigerator.
Oh, I loved cottage cheese so much. So I developed a lactose intolerance in the last couple of years. And so I have the lactose-free cottage cheese, which always disappears so fast. Like whenever it gets delivered at the grocery store, it's snapped up. So whenever I buy it, I buy like 4 at a time. And my husband is always like, what are you doing? I said, it's a hot commodity. You got to get the lactose-free cottage cheese right away. But does the lactose-free situation affect protein at all? I'm always wondering about that.
No, it does not. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. You just don't have the right enzymes in your gut to break down lactose, which a lot of us don't. And so it's just affecting you differently. I will say that if you are lactose or dairy intolerant, yogurt and cottage cheese are a little different than just straight up milk, because they have the probiotics in there. They already have bacteria that is breaking it down, which helps your gut break it down. So it's much easier to digest than, say, drinking a glass of milk.
Oh, that's great.
Or eating ice cream.
So yeah, eating ice cream went out the window with all of this, right? I can't get around. There's one lactose at this dairy we like. There's one, they have lactose-free vanilla and lactose-free chocolate, and they will make a lactose-free shake, but that has the lactose-free milk in it, which I didn't appreciate that might be an issue. It's better to eat the lactose-free ice cream. Is that so? Did I get that right?
I would have to look that up. I'm not really sure. You're not sorry, ice cream? And I don't know. Not that I don't eat ice cream. I do. I like my sweets just as much as any other girl. But I don't have a lactose issue, and I haven't had a lot of clients ask me about the lactose ice cream. So that's one I would have to look up.
Well, you're making me very motivated to look it up myself, because I certainly don't want the issues that go along with the lactose intolerance. So tell us more about the fiber. What are the best fruits and vegetables to adopt into your diet to give yourself a boost? Give your gut a boost.
Any fruits and vegetables.
Really?
Yes. A lot of things have gotten bad name because there's the whole high sugar in fruit, high carb in vegetables. It's all about balance. It's not, you have to avoid, like, never eat bananas, never eat pineapples because they're high on the glycemic index. If you eat the rainbow of fruits and vegetables, there is nothing wrong with white potatoes. They actually contain tons of nutrients. There's nothing wrong with corn and peas and carrots. Don't avoid all these things, because every color contains different vitamins and nutrients. So orange things like sweet potatoes, orange peppers, oranges have vitamin C. Green things have vitamin K. So if you eat the rainbow, you're getting the full spectrum. So don't just zero in on one and just say, oh, okay, I like potatoes. I'm just going to eat that for everyday vegetable. You need the rainbow. You need the spectrum. And if you do that, you're going to get it all.
Thank you for saying that, because bananas have such a bad rap. But that's probably if you're eating bananas every day or multiple bananas every day. But a banana once a week, twice a week?
I eat half a banana every single morning.
Oh.
I love bananas. I eat a half of one every day, either in my oatmeal, in my smoothie, whatever. Yeah, I mean, we've become this society of terrified of natural sugars or carbohydrates, starchy foods, and that it goes from one end of the spectrum to the other. So back in like the 70s and 80s, it was don't eat anything with fat. Everything needs to be fat-free. Just buy all fat was the devil, right? And so they started recommending eat all these breads and pastas and grains. The little food pyramid, that was the bottom of the pyramid where you're supposed to eat. I forget, it was like 7 to 9 servings a day or whatever. And so that's not balance. We do need fat in moderation in our diet. Nothing is off limits. So now we've swung to the whole other end. Now it's eat lots of fat, do keto, do low carb, no carb. You can eat bacon every morning, steaks, eat all kinds of, put coconut oil and coconut milk on everything, but don't eat any carbs. Bread, never eat bread, never eat anything white. Don't eat pasta, don't eat potatoes. And that's not healthy either. Neither of those two extremes are healthy. If you talk to anyone who really studies nutrition, well, I won't say that because there are a lot of people out there that are promoting these extreme diets. But first of all, they're not maintainable usually because it's no fun. It doesn't feel good. Second of all, they're not good for your system. You're not getting the balance that you need. You're getting way too much of one thing and not enough of another. And I am right in the middle of, you need a good balance of all these macronutrients, the proteins, the fats, and the carbohydrates. And when you get that balance, your body's going to be getting what it needs. And bonus, it balances your hormones and your blood sugar.
I find that the hormone piece of the menopause, post-menopause journey is so confusing. I don't know about you, but I didn't grow up learning about hormones at all. The only thing I ever heard about it was when you have your period, you might be moody. I never really heard anything. And now it seems like the influence of hormones is one of the most important things about this phase of life.
It is, and it's really important your entire life. And it's never been given the attention that it needs. It still isn't. When you go to your OBGYN, 9 times out of 10, they don't know anything about hormones. All they know is, if you're having problems around your period, take birth control because it has some hormones in it. And we'll just keep throwing stuff at it until something sticks. So if it works and your skin clears up and you don't have painful periods, hey, perfect. We got the right balance. They're not even testing. And we have all these phases, right? We have puberty, and then we have our fertile years, and we're having babies, and that's your hormones are changing like crazy. Even if you're not having children, you're still in a phase. And then there's menopause where certain hormones decline and you have certain challenges along those lines. And a lot of women are opting for the hormone replacement therapies, which I am not opposed to. I think that you need to make your decision for yourself and with your provider. But I think testing is a great thing because it can tell you a lot about your body. And if you choose not to do the hormone therapies, there are a lot of things you can do, nutrition and lifestyle related, that can put things into balance and ease symptoms.
What kind of tests are you talking about?
Just hormone testing. Just straight up have them test everything, your estrogen, your progesterone. I don't do hormone testing myself, so I can't recommend a certain test or certain things, but get a full panel. Go to a functional medicine doctor who knows exactly what to test for. One of the things I did not realize pre-breast cancer and all my life was that I was estrogen dominant. So I had a lot of estrogen circulating, and they have not specifically come out and said that estrogen dominance can contribute to breast cancer, but there's a lot of speculation about it. And I had very sore, dense breasts. And I thought I was in the minority with that. And since I've been talking more about that, I meet so many women who have this dense breast tissue. And I asked when I went for my mammogram, and they said, "Oh my goodness, your breasts are so dense." I was like, "Well, what causes that?" And they're like, "Well, we don't really know. We know caffeine can affect it." And I'm like, "Well, I drink 1 cup of coffee a day." And they're like, "Oh no, this would be more like if you were just drinking like 8 or 9 cups all day long." And I was like, "Okay, you have nothing else for me. And if you have dense breasts, you have a higher chance of breast cancer." And they couldn't tell me why that was either. They said, "Well, it could just be that because it's so dense, we can't see it very well on your mammogram. And so it hides." And I was like, "Well, that's not a higher risk. That's just a higher risk of not seeing it," which did happen to me. They did not see it. I had a clear mammogram a month before I was diagnosed. And that's where my intuition came in, because I had very dense, lumpy breasts all the time. So I couldn't really identify what's a cyst, what's a fluid cyst, and what could be cancer. They did my mammogram and they said, "Oh, this is consistent with your fluid-filled cysts. So if you have dense breasts, always insist on an ultrasound in addition to your mammogram, because the ultrasound can see different things and it is vitally important." And actually the FDA is going to start recommending so that insurance will actually cover it, because sometimes it won't.
Wow, that is really important info. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I got kind of off on a tangent, but I'm really passionate about it. I don't want anyone to go through what I went through.
Exactly. It makes sense that you would be passionate about that. So the question that I'm sure you get a lot is, what is a postmenopausal woman to do about weight loss? I remember hearing from my doctor, you can expect to gain 12 to 18 pounds. And I just started to believe that. And what do you know? I gained 12 to 18 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So many women at our age are just confused about what to do because the old tricks don't work.
Right. And it is typical to gain that weight if you don't know what to do. And so doctors are sort of giving you this hopeless picture of, well, nothing you can do. Sorry, you're going to gain 12 to 18 pounds. And I did gain 15 pounds. But at the time, there wasn't really much I could do about it. But I've lost that 15 pounds and I am back to my premenopausal weight. So I am living proof that you can change things, but you do have to do things differently. Like I mentioned before, you got to eat more protein. Your metabolism increases the more muscle mass you have, and protein grows your muscles. You've got to incorporate some strength training because you've got to build those muscles back up. I know that a lot of women are afraid of that. Maybe they've never done it before in their life, and it is something you start really, really small, like 10 minutes every other day, that kind of thing. And then you slowly build up, but it is absolutely crucial to build and maintain that muscle. And what you eat makes a big difference because all the hormones interact with each other. It's this beautiful, delicate dance. And if you have one thing that's out of order. It's a cascade. And blood sugar is one of those things. A lot of women in midlife, like you said before, are dealing with prediabetes or diabetes, and you're going to store fat if you have excess blood sugar. And insulin, when you have high blood sugar, you have to have insulin. You're releasing insulin because that's the only way for you to process the sugar out of your body. And insulin's a fat storage hormone. And unfortunately, if your blood sugar has been out of balance for a long time, if you've eaten too much sugar, which a lot of us have, I do a breakup with sugar challenge every year, and I have hundreds of women. And it's not uncommon. Sugar's a big part of our life. It's easy to get. It tastes good. It feels good. It's a emotional support sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you've been eating a lot of sugar for a long time, you're constantly pumping out insulin, which is the fat storage hormone. So those are two things right off the bat, the strength training and the cutting back on sugar. And when your insulin is in balance, it helps everything else balance out. Another one is cortisol. That's a huge one because that also causes fat storage. And cortisol comes from stress. Midlife brings a lot of stress with all these changes that we have discussed. And so many of us are living in a constant state of stress. We've got work, we've got kids, we've got parents, grandkids, whatever it is, life.
There's a lot.
Yeah. And when you live in a constant state of stress, your cortisol is high all the time, which affects your sleep hormones, your melatonin. When you go to bed with high cortisol, you're not going to sleep well. And sleep is another huge issue for women in menopause, not being able to get to sleep, not being able to stay to sleep. And a big reason is our cortisol's high. Melatonin's the one that makes you calm and go to sleep. So cortisol goes down, melatonin goes up. If those are out of balance, not going to work out. There's a couple other hormones at work, leptin and ghrelin. Those are your hunger and satiety hormones. Sorry, I'm totally geeking out.
No, I love it. I love leptin and ghrelin.
Leptin and ghrelin. One makes you feel hungry, one makes you feel satisfied. Those come into balance overnight when your blood sugar also kind of goes back to a baseline, because that's your fasting period, is while you're sleeping. If you don't sleep well because of the cortisol, because of the lack of melatonin, your leptin and ghrelin don't get to come into balance. Cortisol makes your blood sugar high, so nothing is balancing at night. At night is when everything calms down. Everything comes into balance. Then you wake up the next day and you are refreshed. Everything's in balance. Your body is calm. If not, leptin and ghrelin are all thrown off. You get more cravings. You eat more sugar. You get more insulin. Your blood sugar's out of whack. And the whole you stay in a constant state of stress. Always, everything is out of balance. And you're going to store fat. There's just no way around that. So addressing your stress and finding that time to relax, to unwind, to get some time alone. And women don't like to do that. We have the guilt. We have the nurturing gene where we feel like we've got to take care of everyone and everything. And we've been raised that way, and society reinforces it. And so that's
women our age. That's how we grew up. We're our role models, you know?
Our parents, our moms. And that's one of the biggest things that I promote is self-care.
Yeah.
I'm out here repeating that over and over and over again because we have to hear it constantly because we do not feel like we have permission to do that.
You know what? Here, I'm going to show you, but people in my coaching community have seen this a million times. I have a wand that I take out on the regular, giving people permission. But I've recently done an episode on the importance of giving yourself a permission slip. There's such a focus on us being productive. And one of my mantras is that self-care is productive. In this example that you just gave, thinking about sleep as self-care, which is one of my biggest health improvements over the last couple of years, because I was in denial about my snoring because it's embarrassing. And my husband kept pushing me because he wore CPAP for about 20 years. And he just kept saying, get a sleep study, get a sleep study. And when I turned 60, I got an Aura ring and I had a physical. And the data from all of that, it was very hard to ignore that I had breathing irregularity. And in fact, I did have severe apnea. So I started to wear CPAP and started to really work on my sleep. So what you were talking about leptin and ghrelin coming into balance overnight, that seems to me easier to think about as, yes, your body is being productive. Even while you sleep, you can give yourself self-care and resting your body and getting the proper amount of sleep. And you can still remember what your body's doing right now. Women have a very hard time not being productive, not feeling productive. But there's so many benefits to calming down, slowing down, relaxing.
Yeah, and the way that I like to look at it, we have trouble just giving it to ourselves. But if you slow down and you're more in balance and you're rested, you're going to be there better for everything else in your life. You will actually be more productive because your mind's clear, you have energy, you're going to be more creative, you're going to be more present with the people in your life instead of running on fumes and just putting one foot in front of the other. So actually you are giving to everyone else. It's like the old saying about put your face mask on first in the airplane, because if you pass out, you can't help anybody.
That's right.
And it's such a good metaphor because it's so true. But we just don't want to hear that. We have that guilt. We feel like we just have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And in midlife and menopause, that's when it catches up. That's when your body starts breaking down. You start getting aches and pains. You start getting diabetes. You start gaining weight. And then that's one of the reasons I work with women in this phase, because they're ready. They're like, all right, like you with your CPAP, it gets to a point where you're just like, okay, the discomfort is the catalyst for change.
It is. And, the other thing that really helped me is that I have a sister who recently passed from cancer. And watching her struggle.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you. Watching her struggle, really, and the struggle that you did just to deal with getting the treatment. And all I needed to do was put on a stupid mask. Watching her try to take care of herself. And I know one huge thing I could do is get over the vanity and the perceived inconvenience and whatever, and just wear the mask, and I would get a huge bonus of improved sleep and improved health. I couldn't ignore that anymore.
Yeah.
And it is a pain to take the CPAP on a plane and on a boat, and I'm schlepping that thing around. I see all the other people with their little CPAP suitcase at airports. I give them a little wink. We're taking care of our health. But I hear what you're saying, and your tips today were awesome. So if you were going to close the interview with a couple of hot tips that people could do with baby steps to just get started in a very small, not painful way, what would they?
Number one, make sure you're getting some protein at every meal, about a palm sized. If you're a label reader, you need a minimum of 20 grams at every meal. So just start building your plate, starting with protein. Number two, start moving your body. That gives you the stress relief and starts building muscle and helps you sleep better. It's a win-win on all fronts. Start small. I don't care if it's a little walk around your block once a day, or getting up and moving around your office, walking your dog, taking the steps instead of the elevator, parking further away. Tiny little steps can add up. And I didn't mention this, but drink water. We're all dehydrated, and it's an epidemic of dehydration. So those are so easy Those are three. You don't have to feel like you're on a diet. You don't have to start this extreme, like, I have to go to the gym every day for an hour and I have to eat nothing but grilled chicken and steamed broccoli. Then you're going to be miserable and you're going to cycle all back. So just start small. Start with these 3 really small steps, and even start with one of them and focus on that for a couple weeks or a month until it just becomes automatic. And then add on, just stack these little micro actions.
So good. So good. Thank you so much, Sarah. Having you on today was great. And I know sometimes you might think, as a listener, you might think, yeah, I know what I'm doing. But what you said today was such a refresher, and you put it into context that was just so relevant with your lived experience, and just with the tips, just really, really drill down and reminding yourself that you can start small. It does matter. It does count. So thank you so much for taking the time today to be with us.
You are so welcome. It was absolutely my pleasure.
That's it for this episode. What a value-packed show. I know that I'm not alone with all of this confusion around this phase of life. I certainly wasn't as prepared for menopause as I was for what to expect when I had a baby. Now, so many of us midlife gals feel like we're going into all of this without much information at all. I love Sarah's holistic approach, don't you? It is so straightforward, super clear, and easy to understand how to implement. So good. I know I'm getting started with a few of these tips ASAP. Now, Sarah also has an amazing YouTube channel that I know you'll love. You can find it at www.youtube.com/@ Sarah Haas Wellness. And of course, the link is in the show notes. Now, as always, thanks so much for listening to the Women in the Middle show. Please remember to share it with your friends and other midlife gals that you know would get a lot out of it. Being the queen of your brain domain is the best way to be. It is totally time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the happiness, excitement, joy, and fulfillment that you crave. Remember, if you need coaching support for the changes you're excited to make in midlife, I am here for you, and I offer group and private coaching. And I also have something called the Next Chapter Clarity Session. It's a private 50-minute conversation to help you get clear on what you want now. It's free, so if something in your life feels a little off, unclear, or out of sync, this is where you figure out what's really going on and what you want to do about it. That's the kind of session this is. It's insightful and designed to help you see where you may be getting in your own way and how I might be able to help you turn the page on your next chapter. So you can go ahead and book that now at www.talktosusie.com. For show notes and links, go to www.susierosenstein.com and click the podcast tab and look for episode 454. And you'll also see a link there for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the podcast places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.